Hello and welcome back to Perhaps. I am so excited for this episode today. It is going to be just incredibly informative. There's a few reasons why I asked Angela, who is our podcast guest today, to come on to Perhaps and just talk a bit. But reason number one was because she is an incredible leader and I look up to her a ton in this area. Just someone who is walking the walk and leading people and leading them well. And she is the current CEO of the Arizona 100 Club, which is definitely one of my most favorite nonprofits here locally in Arizona. Just the work that they do, what Angela does and her team does is absolutely incredible. So it truly is a privilege just to have her here. And I asked her a few different questions in quite a few different directions, actually. And we talk about grief and what it looks like to navigate that well, especially as you are walking alongside someone who is grieving. A lot of what Angela does involves grieving families and grieving wives and husbands just truly on a daily basis. And so her wisdom is just amazing, and I think it will be helpful for all of our listeners. And of course, we talk a bit about leadership. So I am so excited for you to hear from my friend, Angela Harrolle. And as always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Caitlin.
How are you?
I'm amazing. I'm so thankful to be here today with you.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. We're going to get into how I know Angela, but first, we always start with an icebreaker question because that's just what we do around here.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were kind of talking about this before, and I was like, Angela, do you like food? And she's like, I love food.
I love food.
Great.
Like, I just finished breakfast. I'm already thinking about lunch. It doesn't
yep,
matter.
Yep,
So I
it's
just love
11:13 here.
Yeah.
It's that weird in between. I just want to eat
all day long. It's a problem.
Do you drink coffee like in between meals? Are you an avid coffee drinker?
Actually, I'm not.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of crazy. I grew up in a household where no one drank coffee, so I really didn't drink it either. And now I do have a little coffee here and there, but I kill the flavor with all sorts of things that numb the coffee.
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of creamer. Yeah. Are you like more creamer than coffee?
Well, I used to do that, sweet cream, cold foam, sprinkle, whatever, but then I had to adult. So now I dump a protein shake into my espresso shots. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Well, it kills the flavor.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. I recently discovered that, and you just put it over ice, and it's great. It feels like you're killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Like you have the caffeine and you have the protein.
You have the protein, it's healthier, and not only that, but you're going to conquer the world by the time you're finished, right?
How did we get on this topic?
I know, right? Foodie. But what we're doing is we're hacking. We're hacking coffee is what we're doing.
Yes.
But food though.
Food. Okay, so my question for you is this. What is your favorite food genre? Like if you were to go out and like pick your most favorite restaurant concept, what is it?
Well, I always love a good steakhouse, but really my go-to is sushi.
I love sushi.
I eat a lot of seafood. I don't know, it's lighter. I like it, and it can be done. The purity of it is something I really enjoy.
Oh my gosh, I'm so with you. Do you have a favorite sushi restaurant in Phoenix?
Oh, there's so many ones. I love Rock Lobster down in Chandler, but Kaizen.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Is so good, and their happy hour is the best because it's 50% off everything in the restaurant. I have no affiliation, but I'm telling you, go between kids.
Subtle plug.
Probably. Well, again, zero affiliation, but now I'm hesitant. I'm like, shoot, you shouldn't have told anyone. You're never going to be able to get in there and eat sushi again.
Oh my gosh, I'll add this to the show notes.
Yeah,
there
you go. There you go.
Restaurant.
Yeah.
So funny.
I can't give you a discount code. Like I said, I know nothing. I just love that place.
Yes, I love sushi too. It's so good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Angela, thank you so much again for being here and just for speaking to the audience. I would love to dive into so many things today, but first, can you just give a quick overview of who you are, what you have been doing, what led you up to this very point? Ready, go.
Ready, set, go. So who am I? I always think, where do you start? But, I'm a farm girl from southern Minnesota.
Cool.
I grew up a hog farm, super sexy, right?
Yeah.
But no, my parents, they farm corn and soybeans, and I'm from a really large family. And I decided to leave there ultimately to go to school. Ended up at ASU.
Cool.
So from one very cold climate to one
very
hot as can be, climate. And I was here and graduated college, had a great opportunity to get an internship of all things. And that internship ultimately took me to becoming a special agent with Diplomatic Security Service with the U.S. Department of State, so on a federal level, so a federal agent. And I know that that's, a part of which you have some experience in or you have knowledge of. And I was in that realm for almost 10 years, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, poor man's jet set. It took me to 45 different countries. I got to work for some incredible leaders in this world, one of which was Madeleine Albright, our first female Secretary of State.
So cool.
And then I also had the honor and privilege to work with Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama and Oprah on a brief occasion. I mean, some really amazing people.
So cool.
So to be able to see how it really works and to see their true, genuine nature is amazing. So, in that journey, being a female special agent in very much a male-dominated career focus is an interesting place.
Yes.
I kind of, my basic academy class, there were 2 females and 46 men.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So, and the females, right? So I am taller and blonde, and my counterpart is much shorter and brunette.
Okay.
And they would call her my name and then vice versa. And I was like, you guys are never going to make it. Like, if you cannot get the 2 of us straight and we couldn't look more different, you're in trouble. But anyway, just lots of jokes. But
oh my gosh.
like I had mentioned a little bit about just the leaders that I had the fortunate opportunity to be influenced by, going into the State Department under the realm of Madeleine Albright always led me to think about a quote that she had when she was appointed by the president at that time as the first female Secretary of State. And she said, I hope that my heels, let me start over. I hope that my heels can fill your shoes. And I just thought that was so impactful.
Wow.
Acknowledging, yes, this is where I am, but I'm going to get this done. And no matter what the shoes are that you wear.
Cool.
Isn't
so
that
cool.
Great?
I think that's just something that we should all, as female leaders, just consider. And it's so vital.
It is so good. And then, I also think this in the realm of parenting, and I apply it now inherently to the dynamic between the male-female type approach to different career focuses. But someone told me when my kids were really little, because, always you're laughing and joking and this and that about, how dad does it versus how mom would do it. And my husband, he definitely did things differently. Yeah. And someone from one of the preschools told me, here's the thing. The dads, they're always going to get it done, or the moms, they're always going to get it done. They're just going to do it differently. They might take a different approach. Yeah. And I also think that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of having the influence on a family now, separate from that, looking at the professional side of it. How incredible if you just say, hey, you know what? We're going to get it done. Yeah. We might do it differently. And that's okay. And especially in that federal law enforcement capacity, because again, your physical capabilities, I don't care how much of a, I want to say a naughty word, but a very competent, just a badass, right? Yes. In their field, no matter how much of that you are, you still have different levels of capability physically in that process. And that's something to really keep in mind, but you'll get it done. You'll just get it done differently.
It is so true.
So, yeah. But it's very, very good, and I think that those experiences that I had led me to be a more well-rounded, not only parent, but person that was functioning in this role. But I'm not in that role anymore. I haven't been there for a while. It's like a whole different life.
Probably, it's a whole different thing. And so, okay, from there, how did you end up here?
Ooh,
I'm sure it's a long story.
I'm gonna shorten it, but I no longer work for the federal government in any capacity. I am currently the CEO for a nonprofit in Arizona called the 100 Club of Arizona, and it is my absolute honor, the honor of my life, to be in this role. And this nonprofit focuses on support of public safety on many different levels. So, for example, in the event of a line of duty death, we're going to support the department and their families. We support actually non-line of duty or other kind of life-altering situations, but we also support them if they're injured. We do scholarships for all children of public safety here in the state of Arizona, as well as a huge influx on mental health and wellness and training, because we believe that getting ahead of it and helping them with those personal components makes them better in their role. So, and then integrating the family. I mean, all of those things are so important. So as a nonprofit, we're able to give back to our firefighters and our police officers in all of those capacities. And then we also even buy equipment that makes them safer. So lots of different things. So obviously going from government to nonprofit is a huge transition.
Huge.
And if you grow up wanting to be in, a police officer, I mean, you don't ever think, okay, someday I'm going to go into the nonprofit world.
Right.
Well, so nonprofit and government, they're actually kind of similar. I laugh, but I ended up in this role in a very non-traditional fashion. And it was ultimately because my husband, who also was in public safety, he was a state trooper, police officer basically here in Arizona, but also a firefighter and also a paramedic.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's crazy. It's like every 7-year-old dream, every 7-year-old's dream job. Like he just collected uniforms. Yeah, that was my joke. He collected uniforms, and then people say, was that 3 different guys or one? I was like, just one, just one.
Just one.
But he actually was doing a rescue here on the DPS Ranger helicopter up in Sedona, Arizona, which is one of the most beautiful places on this planet. During a rescue of 2 lost and stranded dehydrated hikers, there was a terrible accident and he was killed in the line of duty. And that definitely changed the course of, obviously, our family's life, and we had to make some decisions. At the time, my kiddos were real little. They were nearly 3 and 5. And I was much younger, but I decided at that point to kind of lean into the community that was literally bear hugging us and trying to help us through this. And in doing so, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to go back overseas. I'm not taking these kids out of this sense of community that they've been provided and having to continually start over every few years. So I decided to stay here, and I don't regret that for a second. I am, now my kids are teenagers, so people always say, how are they? Are they well balanced? And this and that. And I just respond with, well, I know you're probably asking about their grief and their loss, but let's just talk about the fact that they're teenagers, right? So that's a whole different, like the aliens came, abducted their brains, and at some point I'm sure they'll bring them back. But but no, we're good. And it led me to want to give back.
Wow.
It really did. The 100 Club showed up at my house, and despite my experiences in public safety and his, I had no idea who the 100 Club was.
Wow.
And I really just was so overwhelmed because the former director at the time, she handed me a check for $15,000. Gosh. And it was so overwhelming that people would do or give and just so generously to support our family, and yet it was so critical. And it absolutely compelled me to want to give back and lean into the organization and do whatever I could, for, unfortunately, the next family.
Right.
And it was a couple years later, but I ultimately was called by the board, and they asked me to be the CEO for the organization, which, as I mentioned, it's the honor of my life.
Oh my gosh. And you were so good at it too.
Well,
so cool just watching you from a distance leading in that way. I think on that topic, and grief is obviously close to home, but it is something that you witness on a daily basis through individuals and through just unfortunate circumstances. We were just talking earlier of the phone call that you got as you were walking in here.
I know. It's just unbelievable to me.
Oh my gosh.
On so many different levels. And if I just looked at a snapshot of this last week, I visited a family who was the unfortunate victim of a line of duty death. And this lovely lady has 4 children. So to sit in their home and say, please just trust me, Now, don't trust anybody else right now, but please just trust me, because I really promise I have your best interest in mind, and be able to provide that initial financial support, and then let her know that she's being bear hugged by that same community, which, you know, I left that, and then the next day took 20 of our surviving family members, widows primarily, to a retreat here in Arizona, where they can learn and mentor and grow and work through that grief journey together. And then being back now for 2 days and walking in here today to see you and getting this note about, we have a firefighter that's been burned potentially over 40% of their body, and they're going to need, you know, lifelong support. And what does that look like? And they're from a rural community here in Arizona, so the dynamics are pretty extreme. And you've just, it's a lot to balance, but you just got to keep moving forward and leaning in to support them, because I know personally, you know, from my experience and from those that I have worked with over the years, that this is their worst day, and I know it will get better. And I'm willing to walk that journey with them.
Oh my gosh, it takes a special person to be willing to be in those spaces, truly.
Or a crazy person.
Right. One of the two.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
The combination.
Right, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I think specifically, like, with that, and walking alongside people with grief or who are grieving, you know, we were talking about this a little bit before, but what to say and what not to say. And we were joking around a little bit about it, but I think that there is so much truth that can be shared. And how do you walk alongside someone who is grieving? Like, what advice would you give to people? Because it's inevitable. It's hard.
It's inevitable. The cycle of life. And
yeah.
it is, first of all, there's nothing you can say that's going to make it better.
Yeah.
And everyone says, I'm sorry.
Mm.
And that's okay. You can say that. And I often will say to people, I'm sorry. I know that's what everyone says. I really mean it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to offer help and support to you. And you're going to say, I don't need anything. The one thing that I need, I can't have. And I just let them know that I'm going to continue to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to sit there with them, even sit in silence. I think people say a lot of foolish things, and they come from a place of good intent or well-intended, support, but it's somewhat foolish. And, for example, for me, the individuals that I meet that have lost someone are oftentimes either a spouse or a child, an adult child maybe, because I'm delivering a check to the parents, or a child of someone who was lost in the line of duty. And whether it's in the line of duty or not, everyone will at some point experience grief. And every loss is different, but every loss is a loss. And that is something that's important to recognize. But if you're with someone who has just lost a loved one that they're very close to, it's important to identify a similarity, but I'll just give you an example.
Yeah.
One example would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I just lost my dog last week, so I totally get it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we recognize, and I love my dog, and I love dogs, and all of that. And I'm not trying to diminish that, but losing a pet is different than losing a spouse.
Yeah.
And even though there is a loss and there is grief associated with both, every single loss is different.
Yeah.
That dynamic changes on every level. And I would never say to a parent who even lost a child of theirs who is, let's say, 35, I would never say, I know how you feel, because I really don't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a greater loss than to lose a child, no matter their age. So I think it's important people just kind of recognize the dynamic and truly, truly do something. You want to do something. Everybody's like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? So those that are in that place of tragedy, I tell them, get a piece of paper and write down, I want to know what your order is from your favorite coffee shop. I want to know when the last time you washed your windows on your house was, because I don't know.
Yeah.
when did your loved one maybe help mow the yard or whatever the case is? I want you to write down a list of these things. Yeah. So when someone says, how can I help? What can I do? I want to do something. Yeah. You can just look at that list and say, here you go. Please choose something from that list. Yeah. And oftentimes it's not for you. Yeah. It's not for you. It might be for them because people want to be engaged and they want to help and they want to be involved and feel like they're contributing. When I was going through my unfortunate tragedy in that first few days, I remember my husband's best friend at the time, who happened to live on the other side of the valley, so like 50 minutes away minimum. And he's like, well, I need to do something. And I go, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you to do. And he goes, okay, I'm going to take the trash out. So he took the trash out and pulled it to the curb. Well, he came back every week for almost 6 weeks to pull my trash can to the curb. Wow. Do you really think that was for me?
No.
No.
It wasn't.
No, but I'll never have more gratitude because it's the expression of involvement and compassion and that continuation of that relationship in a time where, you know, your world has changed forever.
Oh my gosh. I think that's just such a beautiful example of like the ways that we can walk alongside people who are grieving. And like, I think I've been in those situations before of like, hey, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And they're like, I don't know. But even offering like, hey, make a list, or hey, here's one thing that I am going to do. Tell me not to do it.
Right,
you know?
Right.
I'm going to take your car to get the oil changed, and like, you can't fight me on it.
Yes,
you know?
Yes,
and I think showing up in that way is just, it's beautiful. Yes. I mean, it is. I mean, that's what community should look like.
Absolutely.
So I just love that. But thank you for sharing all of those things.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's vital. And again, like, grief is inevitable. Like, we are going to encounter it, whether it's super close to home or if it's, you know, a couple degrees removed. And walking alongside people is just, it's important. So
absolutely. And just be a good listener.
Yes. Being okay to just sit in those spaces.
It's so important because so many times there's no need to respond. Yeah. There is no way to say the right thing or something to truly make it better. It's just time. Yeah. And walking alongside them. So good. Yes. I have, so kind of on that topic, the 100 Club specifically, you know, what do listeners need to know about this organization? And one, how to support if they want to, but I think two, how to, like, I guess awareness of it. Like, I don't know. And the 100 Club is so close to home for me, just coming from a law enforcement family. Absolutely. Which I just love that. And I know, and I love that I know your family, and years of service and sacrifice in your household. Cool. And I'm very appreciative of that.
Oh my gosh. It's, you know, it's neat. It's neat being a part of that community. But and I don't know if our listeners know that, but the license plate.
Oof, the
Talk
best.
about that. Right. I have one in my car. It's great.
Okay, good. It is not only the coolest looking plate out there, but in Arizona there's this unique thing, and if you're in Arizona, and then many states are doing this as well. I've actually helped with some in Minnesota and a few other places, but our plate here is this distressed black and white flag, and it has a thin red line through the middle, and then also a thin blue line through the middle, and at the very bottom it says supporting public safety. And it is such a tremendous thing for people to put that on their vehicle, because it shows the everyday support of those that are working our roads, that are keeping us safe, and that are responding to our households when we're having our worst possible day. And in Arizona, when you have or you choose a vanity plate, it costs $25, right? That's no problem. Now, $17 of that $25 goes back to support the 100 Club of Arizona. Yes. I mean, how cool is that? And if we get enough of those plates on the road, it's going to help reinforce the community support of our officers and our firefighters, but it also helps support us, and we are their backup. Yeah. Right? We are their backup, and we are the ones that are trying to make sure that they're not only physically in a good place, but mentally, that they have the resources that they need. There is, think about this, if someone picks up the phone and they call 911, they're calling 911 and expecting a response of which they're going to get. Yeah. And generally, dispatchers ask you one of two things: where are you and how can we help? They don't care what your, economic status is, what neighborhood you live in, with the exception of getting to your home.
Right.
None of that matters to them. They're going to show up. And our idea is we want to make sure that they're showing up with their A game.
Yeah.
Not their B game or their C game.
That's so good.
Like, I've got a headache, my back hurts, I'm having these family issues at home or whatever. They don't get to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to stay in the car.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it. But that's where we come in. We want to make sure that they have every resource that is available to them under our umbrella to make sure they're in a good spot, because it benefits everyone. It benefits them as an individual, their families, the community, everybody. So the license plate is so tremendous.
So good.
A great way, again, to just say thank you to them that they're serving. And then another way people can get involved, and again, I always say it's very mutually beneficial. We qualify for the tax credit.
Yes.
So in Arizona, if you, and right now they just changed the numbers. It used to be, if you're a single person, it's $400, and then as a married couple, $800. But now I think it's $421 and $841.
Okay.
But if you donate that to the organization, you get that credit right back on your taxes. So it's like negates it, gets it back to zero. So you can give to an organization and you get a discount, kind of, right? Or trade off on your taxes. And you're actually not out of pocket any money, but you're doing so much good for the community.
Yes.
So those are two great ways. And then, if the financial isn't your angle, then volunteering and just creating awareness and just promoting, saying thank you. Just say thank you. It's so good. But all of those things are available on 100club.org, 100club.org.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'll link all of that in the show notes too if you want to check it out, get involved. And if you have more questions about it, obviously reach out and get you connected to the right spaces.
Yes. I'd love to meet everyone. And actually, right around the corner is our Tower Challenge.
Oh yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so on 9/11 every year, and I know this year it's a Monday morning, but that's okay. I think it's a great team building exercise.
Ooh, okay.
But at Desert Diamond Arena, formerly known as Gila River Arena,
that
out
one
west, near the stadium, we do an event that supports public safety, obviously supports the 100 Club. But it's kind of like a run or a walk, but don't worry, you're climbing stairs. Yes. So people are actually climbing 2071 steps, which are the same number that were climbed on that fateful day in the towers in New York. So each step is in remembrance of those that pay the ultimate sacrifice, but also in honor and support of those that are still serving our communities every day. So, and if you're not into climbing stairs, you can walk the concourse.
Look at that.
So what a great way to start the week, and do something for your health.
Exercise. And bring your team.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So that's another great way to get involved and bring your families and, just make it an event that is truly something a little more impactful and personal as well.
So cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. As we end our time today, I do want to ask one more question. And obviously this podcast is so geared towards leaders and women, and I mean, we love our guy listeners too. They're great.
Of course they are.
I feel like in the last two podcasts, I've had to clarify that of like, we also love men.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so silly, but
it's all about empowerment.
Exactly. Yeah. What advice would you give to young female leaders? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Oof. What advice would you give?
Be confident, be committed.
That's so good.
Those would be people are, I just love the world that we live in now because they don't have the same struggles that obviously historically have happened, but you might do it differently, but you're still going to get it done.
Yeah.
Kind of like I alluded to earlier, but again, just be confident and be empowered and do it with conviction.
I love it. That's so good. Yeah. Angela, it has been an absolute gift to have you on my podcast.
My goodness, Caitlin, anytime. You're going to have to kick me out of here. I love it.
Oh, so good.
Love it.
Well, I will plug everything into our show notes, and you guys can follow up and check it out. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.